Well, indeed, we're starting now with a conversation which we started yesterday on Benue State, the controversy that has now emerged over whose fault. And yesterday we had Honorable Philip Agbese, who's the deputy spokesperson of the House of Representatives. As a matter of fact, I think that story eventually made the front page of the Punch newspapers this morning. So if you missed part of the conversation which we had yesterday, you might want to either catch up on our website or pick up a copy of today's Punch newspapers, and you might be able to follow up. But this morning we have, a response from the governor's side. The governor of the state, Governor Hyacinth Alia, was accused by Honorable Philip Agbese of being ineffectual. According to him, it was his suspension of the anti-grazing, anti-open grazing law, which has led to the loss of lives in Benue State. Well, this morning we're being joined by Comrade Daniel Onje, who was a 2023 APC senatorial candidate and a former president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure you must have followed the conversation which transpired yesterday on our program. We did not see the trajectory which that conversation was going to follow, but we're quite surprised to see that in this particular situation, both factions, or will I say both sides in the political struggle for supremacy in APC Benue State could not come together to, decide that, I'm looking for the right words to use now, to decide that lives are more important than politics. It does appear that maybe they all agree that lives are important, but they're not very certain on which way to protect these lives. The Honorable Philip Agbese blamed the governor for the suspension of the anti-open grazing law, which he believes has now led to the loss of lives in Benue State. What is the perspective of Governor Hyacinth Alia?
Well, I'm glad, first of all, that you mentioned the political tussle that I want to use as the foundation or the template for my discussion as far as the insecurity is concerned. And also, secondly, the challenge of insecurity in the country should be the concern of all. It shouldn't be about one individual's failure. That was a narrative we were handed down during the Jonathan's administration. The whole nation was meant to believe that it was Jonathan's problem. But we can see that beyond Jonathan's administration, the Buhari administration grappled with the issue of insecurity, and now down to the administration of Bola Asuwaju, Ahmed Tinubu, we are still grappling with the insecurity problem. So it should be the concern of all. And that also raised a very, very great concern over what is happening in Benue. The dimension the insecurity took was multifaceted and, of course, multidimensional. And it leaves more than meets the eye. That is why there's great suspicion in the air that the insecurity situation in Benue State was being weaponized by disgruntled politicians in the state. And you can see from the presentations that were made yesterday, it was all about, we started the government together with Father Alia, this ought to have been done ordinarily, and the rest. Now, what else was expected of Governor Hyacinth Alia to do, different from what other governors have been doing? This insecurity situation is overwhelming in some situations. Governor Hyacinth Alia is not the commander-in-chief of armed forces in Nigeria. Probably the rest member expected Governor Hyacinth Alia to deploy military soldiers to go and bomb, the hideouts of all these people and the rest. But the nature of the insecurity this time around is not the usual herders-farmers clashes that we used to see. It is different. This time around, they go after soft targets to just hit, just to create that impression of insecurity in the state. That's what I can tell you. That is what they're doing, So that is why it is very suspicious that this insecurity in Benue this time around is being weaponized. As I speak with you, are we witnessing any more since the NSA came and left and a major statement had been made? Some of these disgruntled politicians know exactly what they are doing. They are the ones that are being suspected to be playing with the lives of people over politics. For Father Alia, he's comfortable. Benue has changed for better. The people who served the state, the previous administration who made payments of salaries, gratuity, and pensions appear like rocket science, have been put to shame. Now, workers are receiving their salaries before 25th of every month. Pensioners are getting their monies, and retirees are getting their gratuities. Everything is on. Benue has been set on the path of progress. So anybody that has traveled down south and has passed Otukpo can testify the fact that the residency, the length of residency of most of the political players in Benue State is not commensurate with the development seen on ground there. There's absolutely no development in Benue South, particularly where I come from. And even in Benue State, there's a major facelift in the place. They are not just comfortable. The bane of contention or the underlying issue in the whole of this crisis is just the attempt to share state power and resources with Father Alia. Simple. There's nothing more other than that. They already used the status quo of fleecing public funds at the expense of the electorate or the indigents of Benue State. Father Alia came on board and said, no, it is not going to be business as usual. State resources will be channeled into the affairs of the ordinary people in the state, and that is what he's doing. They know that they cannot succeed in what they are doing, and that is why we believe strongly that they are coming by way of weaponizing insecurity. Least misunderstood or quoted out of context. Insecurity exists, not only in Benue, everywhere. But the issue here is that some persons suspectedly are weaponizing the insecurity because they want to create the impression
I'm trying to understand what you mean. I've let you, make your points to be as clear as possible, but I'm trying to understand what you mean by weaponizing. Are you saying that they are the ones causing it, or they are making it, they're blowing it out of proportion? What precisely do you mean
weaponizing
when you say they're weaponizing
can be blowing it out of proportion, like you've mentioned, making it appear, bigger than. We know that every life is important, but making it appear larger and bigger than it seems, that is one. And also, it is in the same Benue, we had a bandit who openly confessed on Chinese television, is on YouTube, how they were hired to destabilize states in the North Central for huge sums of money. He mentioned Taraba, Benue, and the rest.
Yeah, that was a very old video.
That's a very old video.
So
what I'm saying
is late now,
what I'm saying, yeah, it's late now. What I'm saying, if that situation occurs, then what makes you think that some persons are not capable of hiring these bandits to cause mayhem just so that they score a point? We're not going to leave that. We are not leaving that possibility closed. But weaponizing insecurity, okay, imagine when a retired immigration officer, a senior immigration officer, was killed. This is a community leader who stood in his community addressing the youth and the need for the community to support the youth in defending themselves. And the next day, he was killed. Was there a Fulani headsman in that meeting, the community meeting, that nobody saw? Somebody definitely must have passed the information that this is what he was proposing to empower the youth to defend themselves. And he was killed. Now the governor went there to pay condolence on the family of the deceased and also to visit Ochidoma, the paramount ruler of the Idoma people. And soon as he was done and he was going back to Makurdi, just at Burnt Bricks, for those who know Tukpo very well, and Benue, Burnt Brink is the boundary between the Benue South and the Tiv-speaking area, because after that you go to Taraku. Just at the Burnt Bridge, as they left, a commuter bus, a 18-seater bus, was hijacked. The passengers all kidnapped, just to make a statement that there's insecurity and the governor is incapable, even in an area where he was. And that was why when Peter Obi wanted to visit Benue, in his own word, in his own reaction, he said he notified the governor of Plateau State. If you're not able to reach the governor of Benue State, you don't just sumoto, move on your own, and you want to enter the state. What the governor simply said is that he cannot guarantee the visit of anybody. He was talking about the class of Peter Obi, weary of the fact that these same people weaponizing insecurity may cause an insecurity situation around the IDP camps just to achieve a point, without minding the implication of that to the lives of Peter Obi and his team. And that was why the governor had to issue that statement, because he knows that if he had allowed Peter Obi to come, these same people weaponizing the crisis will still cause something just to prove to the whole world. And of course, if Peter Obi had come there, it would have been louder for them. You know, and that was why the governor took that measure, regardless of the backlash he got from the public. But he's happy that Peter Obi is safe, and it's better for him, because they won't go after ordinary citizens that will travel to Benue. They will look for high-profile personalities to do that, just to create that impression of insecurity in Benue. But as it is now, I think the governor has done all that is within his capacity. One thing they don't understand, the governor has a lot of information they don't have. And very soon, the people behind the insecurity in Benue will be unmasked. Rest assured, because the only noise the governor seemed to entertain on his workstation is the result. Unlike the former governors who did mass burial and all of it. Did it stop insecurity? Suspension of open grazing is a blatant lie. The governor never suspended the open grazing law. When he came, he re-emphasized that the law continues. And the open grazing law is still continuing. What they are trying to do is to pit the governor against the Fulani people or some persons who also have interest, like the attack that happened in Otobi. I'll tell you.
Mr. Andre, I really like you to, take a pause. I'm sure that Ayo has questions for you as well. But, you've said a lot of things on the program, and I'm sure to people who are watching, to well-meaning Nigerians who are concerned about the insecurity situation in your state, they would really be very, very aghast to know that this infighting, it would seem, is so bad that we think that the infighting could even be the cause of the insecurity. Because when you talk about people weaponizing it, and you're not ruling out the fact that people can be paid to destabilize and, kidnap people and, cause a loss of lives, people are just wondering, when will politicians stop? When will they begin to see that the reason why they're actually in politics is because of the people whom they swore an oath to protect their lives and property?
Yeah. Well, I told you, like I mentioned, the NSA came and left. Since then, you haven't had any attack or serious incident.
We might not have heard of attacks.
But let me tell you the desperation. You asked the question.
Yes, I did. We might not have heard of attacks, but we have heard of villages being emptied out, that villagers are running away from their villages because they are unsure of what might happen.
Well, like I gave you a typical example. This same person we mentioned that you say is late now was a willing tool in the hands of politicians. We know the history. And he also had interfaces with the so-called Fulani herdsmen code. I'm not one of those people who want to stereotype or stereotype a particular tribe in Nigeria or profile a particular tribe. I am of the opinion that criminals should be treated as criminals, and the lawmakers should strengthen our laws, our constitution, on how to deal with these criminal elements, the bandits, the kidnappers, the armed robbers, and the terrorists, so that we deal with them as such rather than profile an ethnic individual. Nobody can possibly be mobilizing all Nigerians to say, let's unite against insecurity, and the suggestion is to unite against the Fulani. Wouldn't it be a Pyrrhic victory even when you win? Because we are intermarried, we are intertwined in the state. Well, that is an issue for another day. I can talk about the insecurity in Nigeria, and I think I have, suggestions to make that would be a solution to the insecurity. There's a foreign dimension we need also to mention. But I'm saying in terms of weaponizing, why we are suspecting these desperate, disgruntled politicians who want to outstage Father Ali or sabotage his administration. First, they wanted to hijack the leadership of the State House of Assembly by planting a puppet to become the speaker. They failed woefully because of the overwhelming popularity of the governor. His preferred candidate emerged as the speaker. When they failed, next, they wanted to take over the local government. They went through the Senate on the floor of the hallowed chamber. They moved a motion to stop allocation of local government funds to Benue State, which was naturally going to affect payment of teachers' salary, head workers, and the rest, to sabotage the alias administration. But that was not possible because even Mr. President knows that he cannot stop allocation of resources to any tier of government. It's a battle he fought in Lagos and won at the Supreme Court. They lost. Now, they came out again through the judiciary, which was why the State of Assembly raised an alarm. They saw a red flag, and they acted on a brief, recommended the removal of the Chief Judge of the state, which is Justice Ikpambesi. In Section 205 of the Constitution, unambiguously, in subsection 1A of the 205 of the Constitution, there was a laid-down procedure on how to remove a Chief Judge of the state. This is another bigger crisis, and the NJC appeared to be complicit in it. We'll get there. Now, having recommended in line with Section 205, the next step was for the governor to remove. But the NJC, the NBA, who appear to be complicit, they came out and made all the noise and harassed the governor.
Just a moment.
The governor for
I'm
one,
sure
the governor, the governor,
I'm sure that
the governor
just
for
a moment.
abundance of caution.
Sorry, Mr. Onje.
Abundance of caution.
Comrade Onje.
Said he passed.
Comrade Onje.
He passed the resolution of the
I think it's important to state that
they haven't acted up to now.
Just a moment. The NJC and the NBA do not, interfere in matters unless it directly, has to do with their jurisdiction. The NJC was very clear. You cannot remove a sitting chief judge of a state without their involvement.
What if they recommend?
I think to say that they're complicit, I think we better be very careful with the choice of words that we use. But I know that Ayo
stand by it.
Ayo has,
I said they may be complicit in it. I stand by it. Because up to now, they have the petitions, they have the recommendation of the State House of Assembly in Benue State. They have not acted. And now they are negating the principle of ubi jus, ubi remedium. Okay. Which means that every individual should have access to his right, to remedy his right.
Comrade Onje, I think you've made your point. Let Ayo intervene in this particular matter. Ayo.
Thank you, Marque. Comrade, the first question on my mind is, how come that one political party in just one state of the Federation members of the party are unable to come together and forge a united front for their people?
Now, political players who seem very uncomfortable with the leadership style or the new leadership style of Governor Hysen Alia, they are used to fleecing public funds at the expense of the very people governance is
While one can agree, my sincere apologies for cutting you, comrade. Just 1 second. While one can agree that, it's all political talk and all of that, but accusing people who are not sitting right beside you of offenses that you cannot validate and you don't have proof for here isn't really good. I'm just wondering how it is not possible for members of the same political party who are in government in just one state. How come it's difficult to come together as adults, as mature people, as people who genuinely want the interest of the people in Benue State, to come together and say, this is what we all should be doing, irrespective of our differences? That's just a question.
Well, in answering your question, you are here when she showed the newspaper front page. Somebody was also here yesterday to say all those things without us being here to defend. So let's have the freedom to air our mind. I stand by anything I tell you on national television. We know what we're saying. The Benue people know I'm saying the truth. Go to Benue. Since the inception of democracy in 1999 till date, aside this governor now, that is turning around the social, political, and economic fortune of the people. Go and check the records. There is absolutely nothing to show for the humongous source of money that have been released to the state as state allocation from 1999 till now. So that is a fact. They are not, they are averse to the change that has come. They are finding it difficult to adjust. The reverend gentleman has simply said that it is not business as usual. Governance for once should be about the people. That is the noise about. You are talking about the same party. That brings us to the point of what we have right now before the tribunal. The tribunal is set up to address, inter-party dispute. That is between different parties, not intra-party dispute. But as it is now, I was talking about the maxim in law. It is a Latin maxim that says, ubi just ubi remedium. Where an individual right is violated, you should have access to remedy. But in this case, they have turned it upside down. Now it is just sign remedio. That is right without remedy. Because the chief judge of the state has the power to constitute tribunal, has the power to constitute appeal. As I speak to you now, it is alleged that the only female judge on board, because she seems unbendable, she had been removed and replaced with another judge, and they have inaugurated the three-man panel for the appeal, which means there is no avenue to remedy the rights of the local government chairman that have won, and even the governor of the state himself. Everything is in the hand of one man, the chief judge of the state, that is causing all of this problem. If you ask this question, let's also ask judiciary. When the state law, electoral law, have said that petitioners must pay security deposit before their petition can proceed, anywhere you see shall in law, it's a mandatory provision that
Comrade,
cannot be violated, and it's non.
Yeah, I'm really trying to, make. If you can hear me, I'm really trying to, get the coherence as to why members of the same political party cannot agree for the sake of the people. Now, one of the issues that was raised by the honorable that spoke with us yesterday was that, they have been asking for collaboration with the governor, but it would seem like the governor has been he's been unwilling, so to speak. That's according to Honorable Agbese that we spoke with yesterday. And part of what he said was, look, we gave a report, that the report was given to the governor, and who promised to do something about it and take concrete action following the report, receipt of the report. But unfortunately, nothing was done about it. And he's also said that the federal government was informed that the people were being killed, but the state government kept insisting that there was no crisis or that the people were killing themselves. Can you validate all of these people? The real issue for us, for me here this morning, is just to ask why it's difficult for those other agents of the Benue State at the federal level to collaborate significantly with agents of the state in the state for the sake of the people. That's all.
It is totally wrong to say that the governor stated where. Can he be, is he quoting the governor? Can he provide any shred of evidence to show that the governor actually said that there was no insecurity in Benue? The governor never said that. And talking about collaboration, that they made suggestions to the governor. For them, they think insecurity should be addressed in the public. It is not done that way. Nobody releases a strategy in tackling security issues. If any governor who does in the country, I'm telling you, even the security agencies like the DSS, the police, the national, the NIA and all, they will avoid such a governor because he will be divulging sensitive and strategic information on how to address or tackle the insecurity. I told you, we once had a governor, I think the last administration, who made the loudest noise about insecurity. We had mass burials in Benue and all of it. Did it stop? There were killings in Agatu, killings everywhere. Some of them were lawmakers in the last administration of this governor. They never stood up for once on the floor of the National Assembly to address this issue or tell anything to the nation. But they are in the front line making the noise now because they want to weaponize insecurity. We all know these things. So I'm saying basically that you need to know the immediate and remote causes of a situation before you can address it. And that's what I'm telling you. As I speak with you now, the appeal of the tribunal may have been programmed to go ahead to declare candidates of the same party, APC, who approached them illegally as winners of election in the 23 local government in Benue State, just to sabotage Father Alia's administration. Now, who set up this appeal? It's the same Justice Pambese who set up tribunal, who also set up the appeal. The same one man. And clearly he has shown that he's biased, he has shown interest. In the beginning of this tribunal, after he has set up this tribunal, what did he do? It is known in law that once he set up the tribunal, he becomes functus official. It means his job ends, the tribunal takes over. But no, he went ahead to grant illegal waiver to prospective petitioners. And over 200 of these petitioners immediately filed petitions challenging APC candidates. Now, who are the owners of these people that filed the petition? It's still Abuja politicians. So you're asking this question. They are doing what is, they are embarking on an act of lawlessness, and it's being tolerated by the society.
So, Mr. Onje, how do you see this matter being resolved? Because whether or not we like it, the situation, and yes, we have not heard anything untoward in recent times with regards to insecurity, and we hope that the situation will continue to remain calm. However, what are the assurances that the governor of the state is providing to his people that their security will always be his priority?
The security indeed is the priority. It can't be concerned or be what do you call it? It can't be so concerned about developing the state in a situation of insecurity. He knows that if the state is not secured, everything else will stand on nothing. Everything will stand on nothing. We all know. Look at Gaza. Look at Libya at some point. Look at other places that were ravaged by war and all of it. Look at Syria. It's damage everywhere. So what are you building? What infrastructure are you putting in place when the people are not safe? He knows it himself, and he's working. Like I said, it's not like I'm heaping the responsibility on the federal government. No, but the governor is not the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Sometimes you wish you could just bring in the military and march them into the hideout of this criminal to bomb everywhere, but he lacks the ability. You can only address security concerns in any state through intelligent gathering and careful and strategic approach, which is what the governor is doing. What do they want the governor to do? This is not the first time we have had insecurity in our state. Let me tell you, as soon as state of emergency was declared in Rivers State, these same Abuja politicians, they were the ones that celebrated on all our platforms most. We knew where they were headed. After that, there was heightened insecurity. What we were suspecting they were up to is just to cause mayhem to the point that insecurity will be declared in Benue. It's just like the two women before King Solomon fighting over a baby. One said the baby should be splitted, and another said take. For them, they're already down, they fear no fall. If Benue will collapse, they don't care. All they want Father Alia. All this battle is just ahead of 2027. And what they don't know, it is God, only God, who knows those who will even be alive till 2027 to
well, we'll continue to hope.
But Alia is only concerned about the immediate to deliver on his promises of governance to the people.
We hope that, politicians wherever, be they in, positions of political office today or out of it, will continue to prioritize the safety of lives and property.
Definitely.
We have to thank you. We have to thank you for coming on the program this morning. Comrade Daniel Onje was the 2023 APC senatorial candidate, one of them in Benue State. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.